Hey y'all, it's May 18th, it's a Saturday. There's a health illness update. I think it's number 23, if I'm not mistaken. What do you think, Barely Bear? So our last update, checking my notes here, was the end of March. So I'm going to just go through my calendar. I think this will be a brief one. So basically, April, I didn't have any doctors because we were waiting for the lungs to heal from the radiation so that they could get, blood work, ctDNA, which is also blood work, and CAT scan, and give my lungs time to heal so that they could see what they wanted to see. So in my mind, I had basically a normal April, not really doctors, just feeling crushed by the financials of it all, but just being able to focus on my work and even travel. I got to go up to Ithaca and do a workshop, which is really deeply heartening and warming and helpful in terms of the wallet, but also helpful in terms of, it felt normal. I was just traveling. Special thanks to Darcy, who drove here from Ohio to drive me up to Ithaca in order to drive me back from Ithaca and then drive home to Ohio, all for me to do a workshop or two. Those are on my Patreon page, which is keeping me housed and fed. Patreon.com/somedayfarm. You can basically decide how much you're in for on a per video basis or a monthly limit. So you could just kick in $8 a month or $91 a month or $3 per video, whatever. But it all adds up and helps. Okay. So March 27th was the end. So I think basically nothing in April. I went for an eye exam in April, and then I had to go for a follow-up the other day. But basically, for that exam, my eyes were the same prescription kind of a situation, and Dr. Bowen's has the best ever. So I'm, I enjoyed that bit of normalcy in terms of going for a session. So April 30th, I had the blood draw for the ctDNA test, and I got the results. And then I went in May 13th, so about a week ago, for my chest, abdomen, pelvis CT scan. Then May 15th, Wednesday, just this last Wednesday, I went back to Dr. Bowen for another what they call a visual field test, I think, to check the peripheral vision. I don't know the results of that yet. My understanding, I think, is that they would reach out to me if they were odd and they needed to share them with me. But I don't remember them saying, if they're normal, we'll also let you know. Or if they're normal, you should assume they're normal and we won't call you. So I just, at this moment, I'm remembering, I think I only remember them saying, we'll reach out to let you know if there's something you need to know. So it's been a week, so I'm guessing it's fine, but I'll have to check my emails and stuff. Maybe there is a message. Current state is 461 voicemail messages, 285 text messages, and 156,000 emails. So I may not get to it. I may not get to yours. This is my attempt to billboard my requests and information and thanks to spend a few minutes here rather than individually. As beautiful and humanly important it is to do it, I don't have those resources. So thank you. Just today, somebody bought us 5 trees to plant. We got 3 yesterday. I planted those 3 today. And we still have to go pick up the other 5 and then plant them. And we're hoping to get more donated and all evergreens. So make this a little bit more quiet and secluded for our students. That's the idea. Anyway, so Dr. Bowen visual field test, and then the 17th, so that's yesterday, is when I saw Dr. Lim. I think this is my second time seeing my new oncologist. Again, really great experience. Going into it, I was thinking that she'll have gotten my my blood work. So I'm trying to remember when so I did my blood work when I got my CT scan. I did my blood work. Those of you guys that follow hashtag BarelyBear, you will have caught up with that, I think. But anyway, I got the blood work done for the oncology. I also got blood work done for my regular doctor who I see next week, so I'm getting ahead of myself. My GP, Dr. Rubenstein. So when I went in to see Dr. Lim, the oncologist, yesterday, I had a couple ideas about how it might go, and we got to talking, and she kind of reassured me that I had the right idea about if this, then that, if not this, then probably this, and then later that sort of thing. Okay, so I asked her if she had my ctDNA test results. She did. She even printed them out and got them for me, which is great because it's been difficult for me every single time to get those. And I was NED, or no evidence of disease, 0 on the test. So that's good. That's the best the test can give me, but I've had that before, and I've had, I don't know, 3 in a row, maybe 4, that were no evidence of disease. And then the next CT scan, they said, you know what, the things in the lung are growing. We're going to assume it's cancer, hence the radiation and the whole journey, portion of the journey I'm on now. So I don't want to get all excited about no evidence of disease, although that's better. I had understood that after the radiation, and by the way, I haven't had any of the symptoms from that. They could still come up, I was told. Like I have, a year, or maybe the likelihood of the things happening to people are within the first year, or and so I'm not out of that window, of course. But I haven't had any complaints in terms of like a cough or swelling or ulcerations or something like that. So so that's nice. Anyway, my understanding is that the radiation might break loose some of those cancer cells or particles or whatever, and those would be picked up by the ctDNA. And so I was told ahead of the radiation by Dr. Peters, hey, you might expect that actually those numbers will come up when we test you next, but that isn't necessarily where you are. That's what's being flushed out of your system. Anyway, they didn't find them this time, and I reviewed that piece with Dr. Lim, and she said, nah, it's been long enough. I wouldn't really expect any now. So I don't know what that window of the flushing might be, but apparently she thought I am out of it, and that's why I was NED, or one of the reasons I'm NED. It was a different doctor, Dr. Peters, that told me I might expect them to come up. And that might have been just kind of cautioning me, because maybe they might come up on some timelines or in some patients, or with some types of tumors. So that's all fair. So I went to the doctor prepared, to do chemo that day. And that's obviously kind of off the table. However, she did say that talking about the midline surgical incision herniation area, I don't. It's a big old midline incision, and there's multiple herniations developing. So I don't know if it's referred to what's hernia, plural hernia. So I'm not sure if it's like the lower one or the middle one or one of the upper ones or whatever, but just somewhere on the midline. In fact, I can't, I'm trying to remember. Yeah. Anyway, She said that there had been some stable, I think, thickening is how it was described. And in this case, I think she was saying it seems thicker, but more interesting or perhaps worrisome or of concern for her and the team was that it seemed to be nodulifying. So I guess sort of less than an even thickening and more of a, a nucleatic thickening or something. I'm not really sure. So she said, look, because of your history, meaning cancer, it's safe to assume it's cancer and we should treat it that way. Not necessarily meaning treat the cancer, but treat the condition as cancer likely, and therefore go in and have another look, all that kind of stuff. Okay, so she said the way to do that is with a ultrasound. So I've been scheduled for one of those. I'll look at my calendar in a moment. I'll let you know. But it's soon. I just already forgot when. So June 5th, I go in for the ultrasound. So that's a Wednesday. So that's going to be fun because I have a new class Wednesday morning. So I'm going to have to be fasting for that class and then go in for the ultrasound. And actually after that, in the same building, a couple hours later, I see Dr. Peters before she leaves the state as one of her last patients to follow up for the radiation. So that's jumping us ahead a little bit. But so I asked her about the ultrasound compared to a PET scan, and she said the PET scan, because of the scarring, I think she said because of the scarring, but basically because of the radiation, is likely to show positive regardless of cancer. And I don't fully understand that. I'd like to do some research. That'd be an interesting thing to learn a bit more about. But it suggested to me that she was still okay with the idea of a PET scan in general if it would serve us. So it hasn't been ruled out, but it's not on the agenda now. So we're going for an ultrasound, which I guess is essentially going to be a more granular look at the situation. And then from there we decide. So I asked her what might that look like without asking anybody to make any promises. And what I had asked her is what she kind of assented to, like, yeah, that seems to make the most sense. And that is to say that if it looks cancerous, then we treat it with chemo and perhaps surgery followed by chemo and perhaps just chemo. That would, be a decision. But since I need that hernia repaired, maybe that becomes a situation where we go in there to excise the tumor, I guess might be the right call, or the cancerous area, and at the same time repair the hernia. After which probably chemo to make sure we cover any bases. That would be the guess. So she agreed. And then I said, well, if we get the closer look with the ultrasound and we don't think it's cancer, then I assume that we're just on some surveillance schedule where I come in however often for scanning and blood work and, we're keeping a close eye. And she said, yeah. And I said, if that's the case, can I get my next COVID booster? We had a little discussion, but basically, yes, I should. Because I was thinking if I knock my immune system down again with chemo, that would be good. And also if I get knocked down by having the booster, which often has happened to me, mostly always has happened to me, then I'm not in as good a condition for whatever other treatment happens. So she said, yeah, go ahead and get it. So I have to remember to actually schedule that now. And then I said, if we look at the ultrasound, which is, I think, as I said, June 5th, so soon, a couple weeks, if that doesn't seem like something we intervene with soon, such as with chemo, then I should reach back out, and she's going to connect the Dr. Duffy on this to the doctor who had been planning to do the hernia repair, and say, well, why don't we do that while I'm under surveillance, and I go in every 3 months or 6 months or 9 months or a year or whatever that might be. So she said, yeah, that's what she thought. Okay, so next week, the 23rd. Anyway, thanks very much. I still have the GoFundMe. A lot of people are making donations not through that, because that's 30% off the top when people go through GoFundMe, but it is a convenient way to do it, especially for people who are out of the way. But for the people that are dropping off groceries and leaving extra money with their tuition and subscribing to Patreon and that sort of thing, that all really helps. So thank you. I'm planning to put a newsletter out soon, so I'll attach this to it with the plans I'm trying to make for future workshops and so forth. So those would include Kansas, Philadelphia, New Hampshire, and Vermont. Yeah. Okay, and it could include you if you want me to come to your place. I want to talk about the Dow Cancer 2 here before I forget. Oh, I guess since I called this up, here's my latest, what they just sent me. So that's what I owe right now from the recent sessions. That's not the however much in credit card debt there is, like 30,000 or something. But that's just what I saw here. So where's the, okay, so I'm looking for here, favorites. Okay, so I'm doing a workshop and fundraiser hosted by Centerline Martial Arts. That's going to be 5/31 at 6:30 p.m. It's part of our Free and Fruitful Friday series. People on my Patreon will come free. Everybody else, they can donate what they can. And it'll be a Zoom workshop where I'll talk about my strategy for walking the Taoist way through this situation and give everybody some chance to Q&A and get some practical practices. Okay, so back to calendar. So I see Rubenstein on the 23rd, so whatever, next week. That's Thursday, and then Friday I see Dr. Michael Imavbori, who I was crying about last time I talked about having a chance to go to his office. So that's my whatever 3-month follow-up with him. He'll be able to see the CT scan. He'll be able to comment on the state of the lungs and the lung nodules. So I'm really grateful to have him again in the mix. I don't think he's specifically seeing me because of the cancer, but he will offer what he can, and I'll be really grateful to get another voice. So I'm super happy to be on his schedule. Then June 5th, we have the ultrasound and Dr. Peters, the radiation oncology. And then June 10th is when after the ultrasound, June 10th, I'll go and I'll get my port flushed, which I still have in. I'm trying to be proactive about that. And I'll see Dr. Lim in person to get the results of the ultrasound and kind of see where we are. It's after that point in which I'll try and lock in those dates and events because if she says you need chemo and we're starting on a rigid schedule that you have to, I don't want to have spent a week before scheduling things and people that need lessons and then find out I have to be at chemo exactly on those days. So I'm going to try and put off inking anything like that until, June 10th is when I go. So June 11th or 12th or something, once I know what the short or medium term outlook is. And then in bonus health illness news, Sarah's having surgery next week, so she'll be laid up, and we could probably both use people's help. Just run into the dump or run into the grocery store, or weed whacking in the yard or helping get something done around here. So and that might even affect my students if she's in the house and needs time to herself. I might have to cancel class or meet somewhere else. So figure I'd give you that heads up, but that's her personal business, so I won't talk in any detail on that. Okay. Love. Check us out, somedayfarm.org. Love. Thanks for keeping us alive.